are possible, that our mentality is there for us, that our abilities are inside. A wonderful conversation I just had with Tara and with Bobby. Hopefully, we can get you back online. So, Tara, one of my phones crashed. Blessings.
Blessings. Yeah, we didn't even know that you were frozen, and then all of a sudden it cut off.
Yeah, it's just I'm pretty much working on getting this thing going so I can help all those people out to be able to enjoy that same thing. So, what I was trying to get at is when you see your kid learn something and they bypass the emotion and they really learn the knowledge behind it, how do you feel?
Well, okay, I have to think of what you just asked me because it was hard to listen to because you were asking me a new question, but I also had a question for you. So it might answer what you're asking me now. But when you were talking about it, I even missed what you said then because exactly what you were talking about was currently taking place within my home. So I don't know what my daughter was trying to do, but I think she's doing some type of origami and she was getting extremely frustrated. And I know initially you were saying, the two different levels of knowledge. So, she's here and I'm here, and I have this understanding and she doesn't. And then I missed how you brought that together because I was trying to get her to calm down. Like, what is going on? It's crazy how quiet it is. You wouldn't have even known she was in the same room this whole time. And yet her energy was screaming like of frustration.
Yes.
And
that is a emotion.
yeah,
Emotions.
And it's hard for me because then I get into my emotions like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to help her because she's so into her own emotions.
That is where I realized emotions don't exist. They are in your mind like fears. They are choices. So what I was saying is, when you look at your child in that emotional state that they're in, and you're like, why are you in this emotional state? It's this easy to do it. Then you have the knowledge, and so you don't need the emotion.
Right.
At that moment, that knowledge destroys the emotion. So for you, if you were her going through that same challenge, you would be all emotional, you'd be working at it, you'd be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? But in your mind, there's no purpose for that.
Right.
So that means that the emotion is what truly the focus and the knowledge that you have inside is what really exists.
Right.
The emotion does not exist. That is a choice. She could choose to look at it in a positive direction. She could choose to start to pull things up in a way. So that means that the emotion is learned. So that means, like, for instance, the type of care that you have is knowledge for your child. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because you have that knowledge for your child, you're able to teach the child with the knowledge that you have. The reflection that they show you is the understanding that you love them.
Right.
So that is known as mature understanding. See, this is the thing that yogis don't teach. They don't give all of these things out. They don't sit there. They don't give their hours away. They don't sit down and go, here's how you change your mentality. Because they sit back and go, well, I've been working on myself long enough. Why should I help out other people?
Yeah.
And so you're sitting through that. You're watching it and experiencing it at home right now, huh?
Yeah, I just took her to her room, and then that just set her off even more.
So that's where the teaching comes in, and it's with that teaching that the change in the mentality starts to happen. It's not a change. You can't change you. You're always going to be yourself.
Right.
So what it is the things around you change to how positive your mind is. So when you're so focused into the positivity that the negativity moves out of the way, you start bringing positivity towards yourself. It's almost like people damage themselves. They disable their own minds. And I'm sure you've seen that quite a few different times with your kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure. That was a lot to even take in. Because I was also thinking, like, if we can't change, like, what would you consider growth? And it sounded like your answer was your outside circumstances changing.
So what I'm saying is, okay, you remember the day your kid was born?
You said what?
You remember the first breath your kid had?
Yeah.
Okay. At that moment, their journey started, right?
Right.
From that moment forward, they're always going to be on their journey, yeah?
Yeah.
So, have you seen anybody who has neglected their own path?
Yeah.
So they've forgotten about their own journey.
Right.
And that we forget about sometimes. Like I forgot about myself when I was so much into my wife that I didn't know myself.
Right.
So when we find ourselves inside of who we are, we all of a sudden stop searching for a best friend outside.
Mm.
So you can see the journey that they're going on inside of themselves. But when they acknowledge it for themselves is when they start to believe in themselves.
That makes sense.
And so it's becoming best friends with yourself that really matters. And that's the hardest one on the face of the planet to work with. Because,
Yeah.
man, sometimes we let ourselves down. Sometimes we fall flat on our face. Sometimes we feel like somebody else has got to pick us up. Until we remember that we started our journey on our own. You might have been a part of the path of that person's journey, but you don't breathe their breath. They
True.
breathe their breath. You breathe your breath. And
Right.
we neglect to give ourselves even 10% of our day.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get frustrated. Because we don't give ourselves enough time to where when we face off against angles, we've spent time on ourselves. Otherwise, we would be searching for positivity in the universe. And that's where the mentality, that's why writing stuff down on a daily basis works. Because then you have something to look at daily to where you can start to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And then there's no reason anymore for frustration inside.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what I did. That's what I did. And I realized that emotion doesn't exist. See,
I don't know how to, because I got what you were saying. I absolutely understood what you meant by emotion not existing when you compared it to it was the knowledge that existed. But overall, to say emotion doesn't exist, I don't understand how that can be true. I even think of like just watching like TV. Like I will be like bawling, even though I know this is just a TV show.
Sure.
But just to understand, like, this is life. This is what people.
Your child comes to you and seeks your knowledge. When you show your level of knowledge to them, and it's in a way of caring for them, the feeling that they feel is a reflection of your caring. Your caring comes from your knowledge. So, because the first seed is what really exists, what we're looking at is reflections.
That's interesting.
Like a mirror. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the reflection people have determined is the thing that exists instead of what really exists, which is you being yourself. See how backwards has come through time?
Yeah.
So when I started to realize that good and bad didn't exist, that positive and negative forces in the universe did exist, that when we look at it from a positive angle, we allow the things that are not meant for us to move out of the way on their own. We put ourselves in that kind of place. We free ourselves to be who we are, and we can overcome pain, fear, and emotion. Because that is what they come and see you for, right? So when they come to see you and they want love, what they're looking at is the knowledge that you care for them inside.
Right.
And so the vibration, even being held, is a vibration. So what they're looking for is your level of care towards them. Right? Mom, can you do this for me? Mom, can you do that for me? Mom, can you see? Do you notice how the questions are?
Mhm.
And I mean the way in which your kids ask you questions.
Yeah.
It's because they know that you're a mom.
Mhm.
They know that you have a certain type of knowledge, that you have a certain type of care, that what they see is a reflection of your care. And so at a certain level inside, they decide that's positive, and that positivity radiates outwards. And as it starts to radiate outwards, they start to know you as love. They start to know you
Yeah.
as care. They start to know you as those things. But if you go to the first knowing, they first know you are that. Even down to the first time you held them.
True.
So it's all comes down to that place, and those are the types of things that yogis teach. And it's so funny that I had to learn it all by myself. Like I came back and I was getting ready to go start taking Kundalini, which I didn't take. I took a student to the sauna with me and sat there and did meditation with him. Sat inside the sauna every day and did meditation, and brought one of their students, couldn't even hang with me. Supposed to be an instructor of yoga, of meditation. I mean, when you help somebody out and they got a headache and you make their headache go away from utilizing things to find the root cause of that headache, that's meditation.
Yeah.
And so we are the best teacher and the best student live inside.
Right. That makes sense.
It's connecting those teacher and student together with yourself that brings you to a place where you find your best friend. And a lot of people search for that outside of themselves instead of inside.
Right.
And then they go to a position where they didn't want to work a job they didn't want to work, because they didn't go inwards and have a conversation inside of themselves. When I sold cars, I worked for Chrysler for 2.5 years. The reason I quit working for Chrysler was because I was spending so much time that I didn't have time for my companion. And so when I was there, it was a decision between them and I that I was the right person for the position, and that's why I had the position for years. See, we seek it out in that way, it starts to happen. Not just waking up to go to work and then you work a job that's not meant for you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
Like, I've been driving Uber for like 4.5 years. I'm in the process of finishing up my 501c3. That thing that you have behind you, that's mine. That thing, I have AZ Arizona Commission, a corporation for Arizona. That's my name. Nobody can take that name. Motivation, meditation, inspiration. Nobody can take that reflection. And I thought about that for a long time. And that's the question that I asked myself every day when I was sleeping in my van. I asked myself, is what I'm about to do today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? If it's not one of the three, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I asked myself that question, and then I started sharing it with people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so that's where I started to just use what I have inside, and then people started seeking it out. And I'm saying that everybody has that gift, but you got to ask yourself what it is that you do just for you, you know?
Right.
So what are the things that you do for yourself? See?
Hmm. Um, a lot of like just today, for example, like just playing Mario Kart is like something I have done for myself because I
Uh-huh.
enjoy it. But that's a good example because even while I'm playing that, I'm thinking like I'm more than likely wasting time. Like, what should I be doing? What could I be doing? And and that's what I said in the last scope is I've been asking myself these questions forever, and I just don't know. I don't know. You know, like what is it that lights me up? Like or being on here, being on Periscope, like just I love to see the way people think. I love to learn. I love the positivity. And obviously, you're not going to find that with everybody, but those are the type of scopes that I go into.
Yep.
And I could be on all day long. So,
Well, that's a
but that's not
healthy
going to pay my bills.
ah until they end up. But you got to see the thing is that you got to find the thing that you really enjoy to do to the point where it does start paying your bills. And it might not be 1 year, it might not be 2 years, it might not be 3 years. Do you know how long it takes to mature a YouTube channel?
No.
5 to 7 years to mature a YouTube channel.
Well.
So that means like the Gary V's, the Grant Cardones, like the Eric Thomas, like those types of people, they've been going at this. Like you can go back and listen to speeches from 2013 that Eric Thomas was giving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that.
So,
and a lot of times that it's like even then, like they've been doing it for so long, but then it just one night, just that one share or one. It's always just this random day where it's like boom, it takes off.
Steve Harvey talks about this. See, this is what I was doing. I was doing this daily. I'm still doing this. I will be doing this, and one day my channel, which I have more than 300 videos up, and stuff like this, one day this channel will mature too.
Right.
And that day, but you see, the thing that Steve Harvey talks about is that Michael Jordan had to shoot over 7,000 shots in winning game shots before he got known for who he was for that just one shot. And if you don't give yourself that time, then you ain't going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's what's also been beautiful about this quarantine, and the opportunity of the job that I do have. So I am being able to still take care of my bills, but then I have so much time at home that I can sit and reflect. But still, I think I'm just impatient. I expect the answers right now, and so then I'll just end up doing other things.
I'm gonna say this as simple.
Like within my own thoughts, all like.
I'm gonna say this.
Myself.
I'm gonna say this the simplest way possible. If you expect your kids to learn how to learn, we got to learn too. And the way to put it in front of yourself is the same way they did it in school. Write it down. Write it down. I kid you not. Watch how they study a subject. If they're going to learn a subject, you can do it the same. School teaches a lot of great things. The biggest one is to take notes. Because when you start taking your notes, and your notes start to get into a place where you want it to be, then that's what happens, is that eventually, one day they will pay your bills.
Right.
And people, Steve Jobs talks about this too. To do something well, it's almost like you have to be crazy at it.
Yeah.
And if those types of people that are achieving places where they have billion people under them or whatever amount of people that they're, you know what I'm saying? Then
Mhm.
each of us can do it too. And I remember another quote that says, we have to realize that the planet was made by nobody smarter than ourselves. So if they could achieve it, you can do it too. It's it's
True.
it's in that place that it comes. The only person that stops one from achieving their dreams is who?
You.
So that's the disabled mentality, right? How do you able the mentality?
Well, apparently focusing on you. It's just I have always focused too much on the idea instead of myself. Like it's the idea that I'm missing. It's the yeah. I get me. I have me. I love me. But all these things that everybody else that they've already done it. They did it with whatever it is that they did it with. Like the examples that you gave. Steve Harvey was started out in comedy, and then
Do you know where Steve Harvey started out? He started out
what's
sleeping in his car.
yeah.
He slept in his car, and then he was fishing, and he was catching fish, sleeping in his car, and cooking the fish. And they came up to him, and they told him to throw the fish back. And he wanted one day that he would have a piece of property for himself, so he went and did a comedian show to just to try, right?
Mhm.
And that is when that thing started for Steve Harvey. However, Steve Harvey also said that you cannot unless you ask. That there's a couple verses biblically that talk about getting to the place where you ask for what you shall receive. If you don't ask, you can't receive.
Mhm.
And so this isn't an ask somebody else. This is an ask yourself type ask.
Yeah. Right.
You have not because you ask not. And he talks about writing down 300 purposes on where you want to go and everything that you want in your life. To write it down 300 times. And he said at 70 you get stopped. And then you got to keep writing. And then by the time you get to the 300th one, because it's going to take you time. It's not going to, like, you're going to be like, let me go ahead and start. I want this, this, this. But what happens at 71, 72, 73, 70? So at that point, you will start to see over time, you'll start focusing into the things you really do want to achieve.
Right.
Like I had a... Go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, that's all. I just said that's encouraging. Like, it's more focused. I just think that's like the theme of it all is to focus.
Yep.
Because journaling is something I've already done, but you're telling me a more focused way of journaling.
Yeah.
And so it's encouraging to have, something else to try. Or not try, but do.
Another one that you can do while you're writing this stuff down is write it down in the beginning of the morning. Everything that's on your mind. Don't stop your thoughts. It's good, it's good. I mean, if it's positive, it's positive. It sucks. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Just write it down. Let your whole day go through your whole day. By the time you get to the end of the day, go back and do what a homework, like if you were at school, you had to check your work.
Right.
And put positivity as the angle in it and rewrite your assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're sitting down and looking what you achieved and you didn't achieve, so the next day you're able to achieve it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's really good.
Second, check your work for yourself. Allow yourself to be the student and the teacher in your challenges.
I love that.
You do it with your kids, right?
Yep.
So you can look at the same exact way that the kids learn and the way that they achieve things, and you could do it for yourself. School's a great teacher. It really is. It gives us the ability to sit down, write notes, have homework, have things that are working for us, have things that are working against us, have problems, have equations, having to fix equations, having to figure out how to do things. They give you PE, you get to learn how to exercise, you get to learn how to do math, you get to learn how to do science, you get to learn about history, you get to learn about people, and you ultimately get to learn about how to learn from yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really great thing, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've learned that each of us are going to have challenges that are worth facing off against. And that there is no day to say that we're not motivated. Let somebody else call you motivated. Call yourself focused.
Mm-hmm.
And call yourself knowledge. And call yourself discipline. And let people call you a place of practice. Wow, you're doing so great at this. How did you learn this practice? I was inside the sauna meditating, and people were coming up to me, how did you learn this practice of yoga? I'm just studying myself. I'm not trying to face off. I'm in there breaking down what's going on inside, being greater than what's going on the outside. I'm having my wife leaving me at the time. I'm having all of these challenges, and what's going on inside is greater, and it didn't affect me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because a lot of people are like, oh man, that had to have hurt. Like, no, the only hurt, you know what it was? It was going from caring from somebody else more than myself to learning to care about myself more than somebody else.
Yeah.
That's liberation. I'm happy all that happened
Yeah.
because I am looking back and I look at like meditation that I did, right? I got to help somebody who had challenges that were dealing with learning how to deal with pain. I got to sit down and help people to find themselves, and I get to be that guy who gets to tell that man out there that their wife might be leaving them tomorrow, or their wife might be, or their husband might be leaving them tomorrow, that you can become your best friend. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. I want that person in that dark place to find themselves.
Yeah.
And I look at this time right now like no other time. People are losing their jobs right now. People have always been losing their jobs. People
Right.
are making excuses because of one or another thing. People have been making excuses all along. You have your position at home. Is that a better place? Yeah, you're at home with your family, right?
Right.
So that is a blessing.
Definitely.
So if you're able to do that, other people are too.
Mm-hmm.
It's them that's stopping themselves. And that's where really the things lay, is an emotion is not real. Fear is not real. And pain is a teacher to teach you how to learn the lessons from the challenges that we go through. That's
True.
And this is just a reflection. All this is a reflection of the vibration from our mind. And that is how I stopped having migraines 5 to 7 days a week. How when when I got hit by a truck, my hand was hit by a truck at 25. I was at a working for a cemetery, taking care of a cemetery, doing manual labor every day. And the guy popped the clutch. I went through 21 physical therapy visits. My pinky was temporarily paralyzed. How both of my hips were displaced. The center vertebrae was out of place. My neck was elongated. 3 different accidents. And my feet gave out on me at 21. I couldn't run for 2 years.
Oh my goodness. That was a lot.
Okay? Yogis are made. They're not... You gotta walk up to somebody, you want to call them a yogi, they're going to be made. They're going to get been through some... They're going to have some stories to share with you you didn't even thought it'd even be possible. When I thought...
Right.
When I was working with the challenge of the car accident that I was in at 10 miles an hour, where it displaced both my hips through my vertebrae and elongated my neck, I went in the chiropractor's office. He did a scan on my back and said, nobody I've ever seen has had a strain as bad as you have had in your back.
Wow.
Yet I sat down, did 17 chiropractic visits, got to the point where I was meditating, doing yoga at the in Pacific Beach, running 6 miles a day, and body surfing. It's in the mind.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is that when one goes to that place of focusing to that level, emotion no longer exists. Do you know Michael J. White?
No, I don't think so.
Do you know Never Back Down, the movie?
Nope.
Okay, so there's this 13th Degree Dan who talks about how uh, how we have to focus to the point where we never let go of ourselves. When we let go of ourselves, that's when we have a chance of injuring ourselves. And so that's all anger is you letting go of who you truly are. And so he was in a fight with a guy and he was sparring with him, and the guy totally started punching him, and so he went crazy on the guy, and he realized he had lost control, you know?
Yeah.
And afterwards, one of the people that was with him, once he had came back to being in control of himself, said that if you lose control, you lose yourself.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's how a lot of people live their lives, out of control.
Mhm.
And when you gain control back of yourself, that's when you gain control of your the things around you, the person that you are inside, and the mentality and the ability to be yourself. That's freedom. When you're out of control, you're a slave to what's going on around you.
True.
And so hopefully that frees you a little bit inside.
Yeah, that's definitely good. And like I said, that was super encouraging, and I appreciate, your time.
Just spend time studying your kids and how they learn, and mimic
Mhm.
it for yourself.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
mimic it for yourself. Here's one that will help you to start to mimic them. You have a really, really kind energy, and so hopefully you have a companion. I hope you do.
Nope.
Huh?
No.
Well, use this same format and it will help you find a companion, okay, Takara?
Okay.
So when you're going through your day and you're writing your notes, back to your notes for a minute so I can show you how this works. Write down your experience with each of your children. The whole experience.
Just one.
Huh?
Yeah. Just one. I just have one, but okay.
Okay, so write down everything that happens. Like, I gave them this, and their mentality was, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Write it down. The next time, you'll start to see what sparks their mentality. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
What will happen is you will start to find that you can start writing that down about yourself by doing that for them. So that is the way that you can start to study you. By studying your kid.
Yeah, that's very true.
When you
that makes a lot of sense.
Start to study them, start to see that that's how it works for them. Start using that same key footprint that you start to write down over time. You start to see and start to go back and study and master, right?
Mhm.
We'll start to, and then see that and start writing your own for yourself the same way, and you'll start overcoming your own challenges by being the student of your own life.
Right.
Now, when you get a companion, do the same thing.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to understand your companion's mentality.
Right.
So, anyways.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is focus. Because I feel like, and just like you already said, none of this is new. It's just a reminder of who you already are.
Yep.
And so And that's why I already understand, and I feel like I've already had all this understanding and knowledge and been doing it, but now I see how I can do it better, which is going to make all the difference.
Yeah, it's just using the tools that you already have. And I think that the biggest tool for you will be to sit down and study your kid. When you just sit down and study that kid, like, it will give you the blueprint to study yourself.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that blueprint. It's already there for you. Huh?
I said I sure will.
That is a blessing to have that kind of a place, because you get to watch somebody else learn. So it will help you to learn. It will help you to achieve the things that you want to.
Right.
Anyways, my friend, I hope that you have a blessed one. I have my YouTube channel where you can actually go back and just vibrate into that mentality. My email address is ZeroMLP, ZeroMLP2000 at Gmail. So just the number 0 and then MLP. And you can pull up all of my videos, like probably about 300. And if you sit down and you just sit there and you're like, how can I do this? It will answer that question. It will be like, write everything down. This is why you want to write it.
Right.
So
well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a blessed one, okay? I'm really happy that you called in and that...
Yeah, I am too.
So, have a blessed day,
have a
okay?
good rest of your night.
You as well. Blessings. Namaste.
Bye.